What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Sincerely Anonymous, where we react to other people's lives and what they decided to share with the internet. We also give our unsolicited opinion and work our problems away. All right, let's go with the first story on Advice Column. Okay, I am considering breaking up with my boyfriend after he told my parents I was pregnant. ... Hi, y'all. This is my first post, and I really need some outside perspective. I, female 22, have been with my boyfriend, male 21, for a year. We met through work, and until recently, I thought he was the man I wanted to marry. This past year has been really hard. Recently, I was admitted to the hospital due to complication and infection from a medical abortion. My boyfriend was fully on board with abortion as we are not ready for a child. Completely your choice, and I get it. When I was admitted, I asked if my emergency contact, my mom, would be notified, and I was told no. My family is extremely religious and very against abortion, and since I was recently laid off, I currently depend on them and didn't want them to find out. I asked my boyfriend to message my parents with general information about the hospital admission, about my hospital admission. We clearly discussed what he could say, and the one rule was not to mention pregnancy or abortion. The next morning, I woke up for a scan and a surgery and found my mom in the hospital waiting room. After surgery, I found out my boyfriend told her I was pregnant. His reasoning was that she was worried about me, and my mom asked what medication I had taken. If I didn't want to kick and scream like a little kid before, I definitely do now. Why do they do this? Now I'm considering breaking up with him. He broke a clear boundary during one of the most vulnerable moments in my life while I was unconscious and unable to stand up for myself. I feel like I can't trust him to respect my boundaries or keep my confidence when it matters the most. So they updated it. One, when I asked my boyfriend to message my parents, it was because they asked to tell me when I'm out overnight. They can see my location, and telling them when I'm at the hospital rather than guessing is definitely better. I did not expect my boyfriend to lie. He told everyone the true symptoms of my condition. We only didn't say the reason as to why I was admitted. So he knew what to say. Two, my parents are very religious. I do not know their full reaction, as after hearing about the pregnancy, my mom left the hospital and has not contacted me since. This is either great news or bad, I guess we just have to wait to see. Three, my partner is extremely supportive and has been throughout the rest of our relationship. There's no thought in my mind or my friends, as I have of course reached out, that this was malice. It was dumb and broke my trust, not evil. Four, I wouldn't have any issues if it was life-threatening. Nothing was life-threatening. It was a minor procedure and there was almost no risk. So before we unpack this, I understand this is a very controversial topic. I do stand very extremely towards one side of this topic. It is, and I will share my personal opinion. It is my personal opinion that we should not tell someone what to do with their lives, and we should not bring a child into this world that is unwanted, and that there are so many children in this world that need help already. So if we are going to go forward and argue why people shouldn't abort, I feel like those same people need to go and help kids get adopted, and those same people need to go help foster kids and do certain things, because medically speaking, until a certain trimester, until a certain week, once again, I am a doctor, medically speaking, it is not a person, it is a cell, and the kids that are already in this world are people, not just cells. We're a composition of cells, but you know what I mean. So that is my opinion on the thing. I don't think anyone can judge this person for making the decision they wanted to. I think when it comes to them and their parents, this isn't the parents' lives, it's the kid's life. The kid should 100% be able to make their own decision. I even have a story actually, because I worked in a lot of divisions in the hospital. I had one case where 16-year-old came in and she wanted to have an abortion, right? So the girl went through with the abortion, and then later I find out that the 16-year-old had come back and wanted to reverse the abortion.
Just hang in there. Maybe it'll get better.
Is that a thing? No, not really. But I guess medically you can. So she went and found this other doctor who is very anti abortion, who stuck a whole bunch of meds down her system in order to try to reverse this abortion. And the reason for that was because the mother found out the kid had the abortion. So the mother brought the kid back and forced the kid to go through the re-abortion, the abortion. Also, we don't know what that's going to do to the fetus. Like, that's not something we do. And the 16-year-old's life just vanished in front of her eyes because of someone else's decision, because of what they think is morally correct, right?
Never mind, that did not get better.
That's a whole different perspective. It's not your life. This is her life. This is what she is deciding to do. Okay, now that we have gone over that topic, here's another thing. Dude, I know what your boyfriend did was in malice. I know it wasn't malicious. I know all that stuff. However, he violated your trust. He literally violated your trust. He didn't do the one thing you asked him to do because he got scared or nervous. Let's say this was a worse situation, right? Let's say you were actually passing away and you told him, "Hey, let me go," right? Which medically we go towards with what the patient wants, not what the significant other of the patient wants. But next in line, if he was your husband, he would have the say as to what to do for you medically if you were unresponsive, did not have a clear written form of consent or anything. He would be responsible. Do you trust this man to be responsible for your life decisions? I mean, obviously it's your decision, but I feel like if it's gone to the point where, okay, I might break up with him, yeah. I mean, yes, this is a bigger issue with you and your parents and your family and that, but he violated your trust. He violated your boundary. You're young. He shouldn't have done this. Yes, it was stupid on him, and he probably didn't mean to, but luckily for him, his next girlfriend gets to endure all the benefits of him messing up in this relationship. So, and you get to endure all the benefits of finding someone who would not mess up in this situation. So I think, in my opinion, yeah, break up with them. But my son here is super excited to read the next story. Okay. Maybe not. Okay, I guess the theme for today is controversial topic. Am I the a-hole for asking my wife to be a stay-at-home mother? Okay. I, 27, have a wife, 23. My wife is currently pregnant. I have a degree and have a decent paying job. I make around a $150K a year. I'll marry you. I'm kidding. Back to the story. My wife is a college dropout. Okay, she works as a receptionist at a medical center and has for the past 3 years. My wife already does most of the jobs, most of the housework. She cleans, does some chores, and she cooks dinner. Of course, I try to help out, but oftentimes it's already done before I even get home from work. While we were eating dinner, she was talking about how much she hated her job, and I suggested that maybe she can be a stay-at-home mom. She already does most of the stuff, plus she's going to be a mother soon. She looked very offended. She told me that she would never stay at home all day to be my beep. She said I was an a-hole for even suggesting it. So am I an a-hole? And then he added, she chooses to do most of the house chores. I've never forced her to do anything. Also, she makes around 16 hours from her job. Okay.
And this is where we discuss women having to lift themselves up throughout life.
There's nothing wrong with women that want to be stay-at-home mothers. There's nothing wrong with that, or even just stay-at-home wives. I get it, and I know it used to be a norm. So I get women that want to, all good for you. I get it. Cool. I personally am not one of those people, just because I like to work, and also I don't like to be dependent on anyone. And as I was going down the comments for this, I actually saw that someone brought it up, and I think it's an amazing point. Here's the thing. A lot of women specifically, again, I'm sorry making this gender specific, but gender norms, right? A lot of women who are stay-at-home mothers now become dependent financially on their significant other, right? To produce sources to give them food, money, their kid, everything. Now, let's say it didn't work out. Okay, let's say they broke up, they needed a divorce, or so on. This woman, right, did not have that time to start a career, to go to school, to go do something, right? Rather, she was a stay-at-home mom, which again is totally okay, but now she does not have that financial support she did previously. Yes, even if the kid's still young, sure, she can get child support depending on where she lives or if she wants it or who the father is. However, with that being said, that is all up in the air, right? Now she is dependent on this person. Also, let's say this woman was in an abusive relationship. Not saying it in this current case, however, in other cases, this can be financial abuse. The person who is making the money can use this as a way of being like, hey, stay with me, stay with me. If you don't stay with me, you're going to have nothing. In fact, that's how pimps actually are able to maintain the women, right? I'm able to offer you a house, offer you food, offer you everything. If you leave, you're going to have none of that, right? So this person, she needs to have a structure for herself where she cannot victimize herself or like put herself as a potential victim to any of these scenarios. Not all women are like this, but this is a way a lot of women think. And I'm assuming even though your significant other is not making that much, she's still making something and has that protective factor. Also gives you a sense of worth, you know, to a sense it gives you a self of accomplishment. Like, hey, I'm doing something. All right, we're going forward. And it's not all reliant on you as the person. Some people need more than just being solely a mother. And other people, being a mom is all they need in life. Again, it is person dependent. I don't think you're the a-hole for suggesting it. I think it did come out of a good place. And you're like, hey, be comfortable. I'm here for you. I don't think you even thought of it like that. However, in the other perspective, as a woman, we do think of it like that. Because we don't want to be where our ancestors were. You know, we don't want to be in the state of vulnerability and the state of dependence. We want to have this independence we fought so hard for. And I guess being a minority, once you fight for something, if you feel like the majority of the people that have an advantage of you, if they're trying to take it away, you're going to be at more of a will to try to hold on to it. And that could be more passion or it could be assertive or however. I generally think this was a misunderstanding and it's a very, very easy solution. You are not the a-hole, but I get where she's coming from. If your partner doesn't like dogs or cats, would you get rid of them if you had any?
One thing's for sure. I would definitely dip. Get it? Dip.
And the first answer is I would absolutely get rid of them. My pets would stay though. I also second that. And that is not just because, hey, I don't care about you as a person. One, my pets came here first to begin with. Two, if you're not a pet person, I don't think you're my person. Now having pets, I can't see my life without them. And I want my kids to grow up with pets. So if my significant other or the person I'm with doesn't really see that, I don't think they're my person. And that's what it comes down to when you grow up in life. You find who fits you, right? You don't try to adjust yourself to mold with whoever is out there. You try to find yourself and see what molds with you. So I'd get rid of the partner. Actually, when I got my cat, I went on Instagram and I was like, hey everyone, give me your opinion. Should I get a boyfriend or should I get a cat? 73% said go get a cat. And you know what I did? I went and I got a cat and I got my little best decision of my life. One of them. I love him. He's helped me through so much. And it's like sometimes all I want to do is just be at home with my cat. I get some people are seriously allergic to animals, and I completely understand that. They do, unfortunately, have to find a partner who matches them not wanting animals in the house. Raised by narcissists. Okay, Told my mom I was assaulted, and she started crying because she experienced something like that in the past. That was the moment I knew. Also, trigger warning, sexual assault. Wow, this is a deep episode we're having. Okay.
Da di da di da di da.
Woo! Alright. A few months ago, I was sexually assaulted by my ex-boyfriend. I won't get into details, but the relationship ended, obviously. And I'm just trying to keep it together with all the medical and legal issues going on because of the incident. Of course, this takes a toll on my mental health as well. I became more distant with my mother, which is a huge trigger for her because every switch in tone of voice, mimic, contact, or just not using an emoji in text can make her feel rejected and cause a tantrum. Okay, got it. My distant behavior is more visible recently because I just don't have the energy right now to watch my tone, face, voice, expression, or whatever whenever I call or see her. I decided to tell her about the incident, mostly to avoid possible conflicts, tantrums, and my possible distant behavior. And maybe deep inside, I still hoped for a comforting mother, but her reaction finally made me realize how self-absorbed she truly is. When I told her and her partner what happened, which was hard to do in the first place, she started crying out loud. I immediately felt guilt because I thought she cried of what I just told her. She was quiet for a few seconds, and then she said something like, she also had a guy crossing a boundary a few years ago, but not as severe as this though. But it brings everything back. She just told you. Maybe this is her trying to empathize. I did not react, but still felt guilty. I didn't know what to say. She came to me crying, hugged me, and said, I always tell myself my body is my body. No one is allowed to cross my boundaries. Don't you forget that. It felt weird. The huge display of emotions, how she hugged me, and how she shifted to herself felt really invasive. She asked a few questions about the incident. We talked about it. And then she started again about her own experience with details from years ago and how my story brought everything back and how she felt emotions through her whole body. The conversation made me feel so uncomfortable, and I didn't really respond, except that I felt sorry for her for what happened. When I went home, I realized she wasn't crying about what happened to me or how I felt. She cried about herself. And I won't downplay her experience that might be triggering for her. Absolutely not. But it felt not appropriate to share that story at that moment, in my opinion. As usual, she shifted everything to herself. And when I was at my most vulnerable, she texted me later that I can always call her. It's been quiet for a week, and then she randomly texted me something about the weather, how work is going, or whatever. That was the moment I knew, and now I see it. I just can't unsee it anymore. I don't know if she's a narcissist, histrionic, something, but it isn't normal behavior. At first, I thought it was like this empathy thing, but no, she's definitely self-absorbed. It definitely sounds like a narcissistic thing. And I know it's like you expected it, and this was like that cherry on top. You know how we have the click incidences with people? Sometimes some people get the ick from someone. It's just like, whoa, and then you can't go back from it. Or sometimes someone says something and you can't go back from it. They say you can do 100 good things, but one bad thing brings it back. It sounds like this mother's been doing 100 bad things. But now that the click happened, it's not going to go back. And I've had it happen with me. For example, some people perceive themselves to be very confident, and then I've had that click happen. I'm like, dude, you're insecure. You're like putting off this confidence, you know? What you went through is very difficult, and I hate how she kind of undermined it because it made yours seem a little less significant, and it's not that significant. It's not insignificant at all whatsoever. It is traumatic. I've shared personal instances with people where they've made me feel like, okay, it's not that serious, even though it emotionally hurt me. And regardless of what it is, if something's emotionally impacting you, it's serious to you, you know? What you went through was serious. So I do want to say that. Now, going back to your mom, she's definitely a narcissist. And I bet you she made you sit in front of her significant other. I bet you she did, because like there's no way you'd want to do that if you're barely telling your mother. She wasn't motherly. I'm sorry you didn't get the reaction you wanted. I hope that in the future someone gives you that reaction. I wish I had more to say to you, but yeah, no, your mother's a narcissist, and it is totally okay to take a step back and kind of move on a little bit without her. Let's see what's on the comments. Okay, on one of the comments that I mentioned recently that I was worried about mole in my back, and my narcissistic mother quickly looked at it and said, you don't have any moles to worry about. I have so many patches of skin I need to monitor. Look. And then continue to show me all her moles. She didn't even look at me, and I just dropped it. I'll get a checkup. Everything's a competition. If there's any attention, empathy, interest on offer, it must only flow in one direction. Oh, and I've often heard how me being sick was causing her anxiety. So on the phone, I end up comforting her while I'm battling an illness. That is so true. Yeah, it's always about them. They don't respect your boundaries. It's kind of like a form of manipulation. I'm going to manipulate you to care for me. Narcissism is a very difficult thing to deal with, and you're kind of speaking to a wall a lot of the times. And everyone growing up with a narcissistic parent, especially because parents are the ones that are supposed to nurture you, I feel for tremendously. So once again, to the person that wrote this, I'm sorry you went through this, and I hope it gets better. Whew! Okay, everyone, this was a long one. I hope we all worked out some of our problems together while reading their stories. Very controversial. Let me know what you think. What are your opinions? What advice would you give? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.